Well, good morning everyone. We're back here to start the barn structure. I've got my overalls on. Danielle hates them because she says it makes me look goofy, but I like them. They're convenient.
So before we get into this week's video, we have a really exciting announcement to make.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support you've given us over these past couple years. And you got us through the COVID crisis when we had to shut down the farm to on-farm tours and education. And that really turned us to YouTube and sent us on a completely different path. And now, for those of you who have asked for merchandise these past couple years, it's finally here.
We have actually opened our own merch store, and we're going to be populating it as quickly as we can with the building going on and how time allows. But we wanted to let you know of its existence because Christmas is right around the corner. For those of you who were Nick and Bud fans or
Fanatics.
Fans of Flash and Lightning, you know, we all had, Grace had her own fan club.
Yep.
So for those of you that were really there from the beginning and have been fans of our horses, in honor of those horses, the very first merchandise we're offering has to do with the horses. So although they are not part of our farm any longer, they were an integral part of growing and helping us become who we are today and doing what we do today. So be sure to check that out. You can find all the details in the information section right below this video. And be sure to check it out frequently because we will be expanding as quickly as we can.
All right, now let's find out where this structure came from. Back on stall row, we were building a smaller structure and a lower structure. So our post setting was a little bit different back there, and we had a different number of posts. For anybody that's putting posts in the ground, I highly encourage you to research. There are different types of treated lumber. There's ground contact. This is actually what's called a UCA4. UCA4. It's designed to be in ground contact. There's also CCA ratings, which they stopped using for residential, especially above ground because of the toxicity of it, but you can still get that. And when you're using concrete, you might want to look at the CCA. But anyway, a lot of research needs to be done, and don't just ask the guy at the hardware store, because what we found was they don't know. And I'm not trying to insult anyone, but it's honest, they really don't know unless you get online and find from a professional the difference between these. Now, all we're doing here is actually putting concrete in the bottom, because what I want to do is I want to spread out that weight. I want to distribute that weight. Now, you can buy what are called footing pads, and they're 12-inch concrete footing pads. We had a little issue because of the size of our hole, the auger we could get. We could only get 10-inch holes here to get the depth that we wanted, but they only sold 12-inch footing pads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Crickweed in the bottom of each of these to make kind of my own footing pad, and then throw the posts in and go from there. So let's get started.
While Sean and Michaela were busy with the heavy work, the rest of us stayed busy with some salvage operations, if you will. The younger kids actually wound up finding 7 deer stands, and most of them are in pretty good condition. Now, a couple Nathan actually used this season for hunting, but the rest they're actually gathering, bringing back up here to the house. Now, we're being nice this year because I know these are expensive, so we've left a note in their place and hunters can come and claim them if necessary. But after this season, we're going to allow the kids to keep what they want and sell the rest. So rewards them for their effort, and it also helps discourage hunters that we don't know from being on the property anywhere near our family or our livestock. Additionally, some of the kids stay pretty busy chopping firewood from the scraps that Sean creates, and I've been busy rounding up the occasional volunteer to brave the old barn and help me find materials that will help us build our new barn. So we came up with quite the hodgepodge of windows out of the old barn out there, but we've got a few things to choose from. So I'm going to start working on framing on the barn, and cleaning up of the windows. Hopefully we can get them cleaned sufficiently to let light in. That's really our goal. But we actually did find a few matches, so I think I can make this work. We had a really special event to celebrate recently.
To you, a happy birthday to you, every day of the year. May you find Jesus near. A happy birthday to you, a happy birthday to you, until you behold his face. Let him roll, let him roll, let him roll all the way. Let him roll all the way, let him roll all the way. Let him roll, let him roll, let him roll all the way, until you behold his face. Blow him out. Blow, 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 blow. Yay!
So as far as the scrap heaps we had, we actually found a scrapper in the area who paid us to take away our junk. Now he's probably going to make a little money off of it, but it sure saves us a lot of time, and so far he's taken 6 trailer loads of scrap off the property. God bless him. Typically when you're milling logs, it takes a lot of time to debark a log. Now some of the more advanced mills actually have a debarker that leads the blade, so it tears off the bark right in front of the blade. Now economically, it's probably more cost effective just to run through and buy new blades because you take so much time trying to get the bark off. But I just want to point out here, this log here was dragged through the dirt. This is all mud and dirt and sand, and that will tear up a blade quickly. Now right now, we're in the middle of 2021 and steel is hard to get. These bandsaw blades are extremely hard to get. And I've got to keep these things running, so I take the time to rip off the bark. Couple things I do. If it's already ripped off, I can just scrub it with the brush and get the dirt off the surface of the wood. The other thing I use a lot of times is a draw knife. See how that just peels that bark right off. These draw knives are relatively inexpensive and it cleans off your wood real nice. But when I've got big thick chunks of wood, especially with tulip, it seems to peel off real nice. I actually use a hammer and I go down and I peel off chunks like that. So that's it. If you're short of blades and there's a steel crisis, you're just going to have to debark your trees in order for those blades to last a long time. Here's a little note for today. I had a 8-foot log up top. It was an oak. And it's kind of fat. It was about 23 inches. Doyle scale said I would get about 181 board feet out of it, and I got 240 board feet out of it, so I really squeezed out about as much as I could get out of that thing. I got 29 32x6s in this stack. It's pretty impressive. Working on the headers for the barn, and I calculated it out based on 20 pounds per square foot snow load, which is a little high for this area actually, but in any event, it came out to a 2-ply 10 and 13/16 inch. So obviously that's not a dimensional size. So you always round up, which will get you to a 2x12, which is 11 1/4 inches. So what I did was I just cut these slabs 3 inches thick, just slightly over 3 inches thick, and then 11 1/2 inches wide. Just a little bit of overkill, but I like to go big when I'm cutting my own lumber. And then I've got some 2x2s over there for Danielle to work in the stalls, and the rest of it I just pulled some rafters off the end. It takes me about at least a 16-inch diameter log to get these rafters so that I get good heartwood instead of sapwood. And so I'm going to need about 3 more of these 16-inch diameter 12.5-foot logs to get the rest of my headers. I'm doing something entirely new here. Danielle always says I have to video when I do something new and different. So I want to actually cut these boards at an angle, at a 14-degree angle. As you can see, I stuck a piece of wood down there between the uprights and the log, and then pinned it against the uprights, but it's at an angle, and it's supposed to be 14 degrees, which is a 3/12 pitch on a roof. So that's level, and this is 14 degrees. So we'll see if this works. I have also replaced the blade on the lumber mill to make it as sharp as possible because I don't want these boards to shift at all. I want a perfect angle. Okay, for the next cut, I took out the spacers and put the board right up to the stops and put it back vertical again because now the top is at 14 degrees. So I'll just cut that and I'll have my rafter angle.
Well, you know, you've been doing a lot of lumber milling when the sawdust is layered on the top of your car like pollen. That's pretty impressive. All right, we got the whole crew going today. It's a beautiful day. And let's see, we got Nathan chopping and cutting pieces of wood to go in between our girts. Adds a little support to the roof structure here. Ruth is going behind him and doing the drilling to attach them. Aiden's doing some cleanup work for us, kind of scooping up the mud that keeps spreading out. And I'm actually working on door frames over here. It's kind of slow because I keep having to share tools with people, but my job is the door frames. We got Michaela, who has taken Sean's place in the post hole digging. We're getting ready to put in a door frame, so she's digging down a little bit to mount the door frame post. Hi, Michaela. And then Sean is somewhere on the other side of all those logs doing his milling thing. So he's cutting wood and looks like we're gonna get a lot accomplished today. Coming along.
Thanks so much for watching again this week. Be sure to visit the store, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so and join us on our adventure.